folks. I'm Dave Gallus. I'll be your host today. We're here with Philip VanVeen, who's running for City Council District 2 in Las Cruces. And Philip, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here again.
This is our second of 9 shows. Yes. And last week we talked about economics in Las Cruces and government.
Yes.
And listen, folks, Philip welcomes your questions and comments. Just email them to Philip VanVeen, that's 1 L in Philip, VanVeen @gmail.com, or call him at 575-323-1477. He'll address your issues on the next broadcast. He's also on Facebook at VanVeen Las Cruces. Also, the Facebook page is also on the Las Cruces channel page, Facebook page. So, Philip, our discussion for today is going to be about homeless in Las Cruces.
Yeah, tough subject.
We do have homeless in Las Cruces.
Subject, yeah.
So, how many homeless do we have, and has that increased over time?
Well, I'll tell you, before I start answering these questions on this, I'd like to address the audience a little bit on this, and discuss the fact that this is, definitely one of those subjects that's considered a political football, and most people stay away from it. When I started running, I said I'm going to be very open. I'm going to be very, very candid with everybody as I'm talking to them. So we're going to discuss these issues, and I can say there's some of this that you may not agree with me 100% on, but know that I'm open about it. What I'm giving here is my thoughts and my feelings on it. It does not mean that at the end of the day I'm not willing to sit down at a table and have a deeper discussion on it, and have somebody change my mind on something, or have a different outcome, something that reaches across, so to speak, and work together on a solution, I guess, is basically what I'm trying to say.
Wow.
So anyway, I wanted to get that out of the way. So
sure, that's really open-minded. That's refreshing. We could use that, Okay, so do we have homeless? Of course we do.
We do.
Has it increased over time?
It has. Our homeless population here in Las Cruces has probably over the last 10 to 12 years gone up by at least 4 times the amount. There's a lot more homeless here in Las Cruces than we used to have.
It seems like there's more.
It's a growing issue.
Sure. Now, does the city pay for the homeless?
Well, my understanding on this is there is a federal grant that actually covers the majority of the cost of the tent city or community of hope, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And that area is covered primarily by this federal grant for funds on that. And the more people that go into there, the more money to offset those costs.
Well, do you think it could possibly be that the city government wants to bring in more homeless to get more grant money? I mean, that me as a pessimist, I would think.
I'll tell you, and here's part of that polarization thing. I kind of think that way too. I see that as a possibility.
Right.
That's what's going on. The more homeless we have, the more money. I do know that not all of these homeless that we have in there are homegrown. A lot of the homeless that we have in there come in from other areas.
Right.
And there's a combination in there. There's everything from homeless families to you name it. I mean, just all age groups and everything else.
Well, I do know that Las Cruces is supposed to be a welcoming city.
Yes.
Now, I wonder if that includes welcoming the homeless, and if it does, that's a problem. Maybe we need some changes in city council.
We definitely need some changes in how we deal with homeless, in my opinion.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you this: there are some good programs out there right now that the city's doing. So don't get me wrong, I'm not just jumping all over the city for everything. There's some great programs that I'm very happy with that they're working on to make things a lot better with our homeless. I think that we need to go further than what they're going with these programs, but it's a starting point on them.
Could you tell us about those programs?
Sure. One of them is the Mano y Mano program. And that program, actually, I was trying to find out some information on it, and my city councilor, who happens to be Greg Smith, was nice enough. I emailed him. I said, "Hey, Greg, tell me more about this." So he sent me some information and some links to it. It was very helpful in looking up this, because I didn't want to come in here and be blindsided by not understanding the programs that are out there and what they do.
Right.
So Mano y Mano is a program where people are paid, homeless people are paid by the city of Las Cruces to help, like with park cleanups and other projects like that around town.
That sounds good.
The problem, and it does sound good, the problems with that program is, one, it's incredibly limited. It's limited to 10 people currently. So it's not helping a lot of people, it's helping a couple people.
But it can be expanded on.
But it's only 5 hours a day.
Okay.
And it's only From what I understand, I think 1 day a week. So there's not a lot of opportunity. There might be maybe it was 2 days a week, 2 days a week.
Right.
Not a lot of opportunity. And of course, more people want in the program, but they're limited to 10. So that means people who want in the program may only get in the program every 2 weeks or something like that. And they're paid, $46 for 5 hours.
Okay.
So it's a good start. It's a good idea of where to go.
Right.
It's certainly not a solution to the problem. We
Okay.
need to go further on that.
Okay. I notice a lot of panhandling, and that scares people. I know my wife has been scared. She'd be in the trunk of the car getting something outside of McDonald's, and somebody comes up behind her quick, and it startles her.
And asks for money.
So it can be scary. It could be that somebody might get shot over this issue.
Well, panhandling is, in my opinion, one of our bigger problems when it comes to homeless now. We had a law in place that prevented panhandling.
Right.
And of course, you'd have a few that would be willing to break the law and try it anyway. That law has been rescinded. But the bottom line is, if you look around the United States, if you look at any of the larger areas that have homeless populations, and do this, go on YouTube and look up panhandling videos and see how many panhandlers are actually real homeless and how many are not. So when you allow panhandling, you invite a lot of fake homeless people who panhandle because they make really good money. Some of them make better money than you and I.
And it also, they're a danger to traffic accidents. They're a danger to themselves.
If we're going to have the programs in Las Cruces to take care of homeless, if we're going to have Community of Hope, if we're going to have programs to feed homeless, if we're going to have programs to put them to work, we don't need to have people out on the street panhandling. We have ways to deal with it other than that. That's a lot safer for everybody, including the homeless person. And as it stands right now, you look at somebody on the street, you don't know who to trust. You don't know who is actually panhandling, who may try to rob you when you go up to their car, or who actually has a Corvette parked in the parking lot next door, because that's what you're going to see on YouTube is a lot of people who have money, who own a nice house, that are out in their cities panhandling during the day, making money. Follow around some of the news crews that follow these people around, and you'll see, one news crew was saying they noticed that this lady was getting between 10 and 30 donations per hour while she was panhandling, and she was panhandling for 5 or 6 hours. And then she went and hopped in her fancy car around the corner and drove home, and that night they actually followed her and recorded her out at a party and well-dressed and obviously had money and lived in a nice home.
Boy, oh
so,
boy.
Yeah, let's...
So things aren't what they seem sometimes.
Things aren't what they seem sometimes.
But the people that do actually need help, they could be put to work. There could be a program.
And that's where we need to expand these programs. We need to have those work programs.
Sure.
Mano y Mano is a great start. If you want to go into that now, I'll tell you where I think the city's missing the boat on it.
Sure.
I think the city's missing the boat on Mano y Mano is because they're trying to do it out of taxpayer funds. They're trying to do that through the city.
How about private business?
And that's where we need to go with this. I think if we were able to take a program like this into private sectors, I know lots of businesses, mine included, who would be willing to sponsor a worker. So because we're not talking about much, we're talking about $46 a week.
Right.
Or maybe at the most, if it's if that person's working 2 days a week, we're still talking about under $100 a week.
It could be a landscaper, a window washer, it could be anything.
And they don't have to work for that company. They can still do park cleaning. Okay, I'm not saying let's hire them and put them to work for the private industry. I'm saying let's have the private industry help these people out and help give them some work like that and help them get back on their feet. And then with that, let's expand that process, okay? Let's take it to the next level. Now, what's the next level, you ask?
Yes, I asked.
Would be to work on getting maybe Doña Ana Community College involved, get the business community involved, and start some programs that are designed to help educate people.
That's a great idea.
On work. There's no reason why we can't have some programs put together that the business community is helping out on. We will provide some of the labor for it. We will provide some of the money for it. It doesn't have to come out of taxpayer money, and actually help these people learn careers and move forward.
And maybe the government could cut a little bit off of the taxes, the corporate taxes for the companies.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. Yeah.
Sounds like a great idea.
It's a win-win. So that's where I think that particular program, Mano y Mano, needs to head. One of the issues you run into with all of these programs, by the way, is that they're all coming out of a particular mold. and people don't want to change that mold.
Right.
There are programs that are used in other areas, and it's like, oh, well, that program has some effectiveness here. So it's going to be a little bit of a hard hurdle to get that pushed through to say, look, let's change that mold. We don't need to break it. We don't need to throw it away. We just need to modify it, and make it available to start adding these other things in that are of real consequence that really can change lives.
Well, I think we need fresh ideas, and that's one of them. That's one of the many that you've come up with. You know, we have the armory that was changed to accommodate the people that are moving through, the asylum seekers. So now that's gradually reducing. So if that reduces, couldn't that facility be utilized to help with homeless and other things like drug problems and you know, things like that?
There's a couple of issues with that. First of all, that is not owned by the city.
Oh.
The city is leasing. They're paying lease on that to accommodate the asylum seekers. It's privately owned.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was auctioned off not too long ago and became a private facility.
Okay.
So it's privately owned. But yes, the long part of this is we need to figure that out, whether it's in that building or some other building.
Sure. I mean, if we have city-owned property that's not being utilized, something like that.
Right. So not only for the education part of that, but for mental illness.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, opioid abuse, mental illness, crime, it all goes together.
I don't know if you know, but we have a mental illness facility here.
I didn't know.
There's no staff. It's an empty building pretty much.
Where's that?
The county put it in. I don't know exactly where. I know that it's over near the prison somewhere, or the jail, not the prison. Sorry.
Oh, west.
Off
town.
of I think 17th Street, somewhere in there.
Okay.
But I know that the county built a facility and it was never completed because they never staffed it. And I think that's another project that if we can get the county and the city working together, and again, maybe pull in the private sector. Let's get some volunteer work from our local hospitals, maybe. You know, something. We can put together some sort of program where it doesn't just affect the taxpayer all the way, where the private industry is involved with it and move forward on a program to address this problem. Because that's probably, in my opinion, our biggest problem when it comes to our homeless population is the mentally ill.
Sure.
They have no place to go.
Sure.
What do you expect the city to do? People are saying, well, the city needs to clean up this problem, and I agree, but their hands are tied unless they can reach out to the private sector and get some other involvement in it.
If they start in the private sector, then they're going to have a better understanding of working in the community.
Right.
They're going to learn a trade. It wins all around.
Wins all around.
The community, the government.
There's more ideas thrown around. There's more solutions thrown around.
Okay.
By doing that.
We have a tent city. We're getting tight on time here, but we're down to about a minute and a half. So,
Until a commercial break, right?
For the break,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
We have, let's see, the tent city. Well, we do have a tent city, but is it all homeless at tent city?
Well, tent city is a tough one, and I think we should wait till after the break.
Okay, this is a long one.
And let's tackle tent city after the break.
Okay.
In the interim, some of the other things, the Mano program, we can talk more about that if you want.
Sure.
We can talk more about some of the other issues. Let's go back to the issue because I think that people need to understand that more of the panhandling and what's going on.
Sure.
The city of Las Cruces quite some time ago actually passed an ordinance making panhandling illegal.
Right.
Basically. So you stopped seeing panhandling go around. A lot of people got the impression from that our homeless population was somehow under control. We weren't having as big of a problem because unless they go into certain areas of the city on a regular basis, they don't see it as much because there's not the people standing on the corners.
Right.
When in fact it was strictly an ordinance that changed the availability to be standing on those corners panhandling.
Okay.
As of recent, they've changed that around again, and I don't know why.
Okay.
So that's, and panhandling is now happening again within the city, and it's a major issue. It really is that we need to address because it's a traffic hazard. We have fake panhandlers, going around. We have a lot of other problems that come with that.
Sure. Okay. Well, again, folks, before we take the break, Philip welcomes your questions and comments. Just send an email to Philip VanVeen, PhilipVanVeen @gmail.com, or call him at 575-323-1477. These will be broadcast as well on the Facebook page at VanVeen Las Cruces, and also on the Channel 98 Facebook page.
Las Cruces channel, yeah.
Las
So
Cruces
it's-
Channel
yeah,
98.
yeah.
Las Cruces Channel. So we'll be back after the short break, and we'll see you then.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here! Horizon Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here!
Make yourself a beautiful home.
There you go.
So great, do all these different gears in the clan.
Okay.
Nice.
The guys, not all, but
Hi folks, welcome back. I'm your host Dave Gallus, and we're here with Philip VanVeen, who's running for City Council District 2. Philip, we're talking about homeless in Las Cruces,
Yes.
and we certainly have that issue. You know, we have a tent city. Now, are all the inhabitants homeless?
Well, Tent City, first of all, it's Tent City Community of Hope, whichever word you want to use for it. Some people like one over the other.
Okay.
In my opinion, no. All the inhabitants of Tent City are not homeless.
That's interesting.
And that breaks down to the definition of what homeless is.
Okay.
Is the reason for that. A normal, you know, when you think of homeless, you think of the family who's out on the street. They have no place to live.
Got to live in their car or something?
They got to live in their car. That's
Right.
homeless.
Okay.
But we have a group of people in Tent City that are not homeless as well. And this is where it comes in, trying to figure out what homeless is and how to address that, because these work programs, everything we're talking about,
Right.
trying to get people back on their feet,
Sure.
is geared towards the homeless. We have another big population that's mentally ill that are out there, and yes, they are homeless too, in a matter of speaking, but a lot of them are there thinking by choice because they're mentally ill.
Right.
They don't want to be other places, although there are some facilities that may be able to help them out. They choose not to use those facilities.
Do we have a large enough facility for taking care of mentally ill?
We do not. No, we need to. That's a whole other topic. I think that's a topic we might address later too.
Sure.
But,
Okay. We could make that next show if you
yeah,
like.
we could, yeah.
Because
That's-
you're talking mental illness, drugs, crime,
and
impact on the community, as well as the poor people that are suffering.
right, but we're missing one other category that's out there, and that's the hobos.
Hobos. Okay.
Hobos.
What's
And
a hobo?
I know that people kind of frown on that term, but
I'm
it's,
thinking ancient riding boxcars from city to
they
city.
still do that. A hobo is not a derogatory term, first of all. A hobo is a lifestyle. And there's a lot of people who live that lifestyle. And I've had the opportunity in the past when I was younger to actually talk to some hobos and spend a little time in talking to them in what is referred to as the jungle.
Don't tell me you've ridden chains.
No,
as
I
a
haven't
hobo.
done that. No,
Okay.
I was working as a kid, helping out on my uncle's farm and that sort of stuff in the summertime, spending my summers in Arizona, southern Arizona, and actually would go up to the train tracks and and get to talk to some of these guys. Some really neat guys in there.
Yeah.
But hobos are more itinerant. They'll work. Hobo has no problem working. So if
Okay.
you run across somebody who will work for food, you see the signs.
I've seen the signs.
If
yeah.
they're a real hobo, they'll take you up on the work part of it because they don't mind working for what they get. A lot of hobos also have money and have homes. They have places to live. They choose this lifestyle. They like traveling around. Well, in Las Cruces, we put in Tent City, and we made it easy for the hobos to have a place to stay here. There's places to get meals all around there.
Well, that doesn't sound fair.
There's that sort of thing, and I would say it falls off of our tax dollars, but we have the federal money, so it does, but on a different level than locally. But they're still being fed and everything else. And
Right.
I commend them. If that's the lifestyle a hobo wants to live, let them live that lifestyle. But don't do it on my taxpayer dime.
Right.
That's my
Makes
take
sense,
on it.
sure.
Yeah,
If you
let's
want
get
that
them off
freedom
that
of
taxpayer
lifestyle,
dime.
then
Right.
you should be self-supporting.
Right.
I hear you.
And
Okay.
for the actual homeless, I'm willing to throw in what we need. There's another program, we were talking about programs
Yes.
that the city started called Tents for Rents.
Tents for rents.
This is another one I found out when I found out about the other one
Okay.
in a little bit more detail. And it's kind of a neat program too because it gives that opportunity. And I don't know all the details of this program. I tried to read up on it, but it was kind of vague. But it allows people to move from being in Tent City into being in a residence.
Wow.
And in that residence, it's their own place. They sign a lease on it and everything else. And I think that's a great program we need to look at expanding as well.
Sure.
Some of the things I don't like about it is once they're in that place, there's no criteria in there for them to do much to earn to keep it. And I think an earning way of doing it is a better way to do it. But that's just, again, my opinion on that. That I think it's.
But if you parlayed that with what you were talking about in the first half of the show,
Yes.
about getting the business community to
Involved,
sponsor
right.
or to give apprenticeships or something like that, or just get involved,
Right.
you're gaining an opportunity for employment that can pay for the home.
Exactly.
So it makes a lot of
Exactly,
sense.
yeah.
It makes a whole lot of sense. So
Yeah.
we need fresh new ideas like yours
Right.
in city council.
Right. I agree.
Okay.
I agree, yeah.
Well, okay. What kind of solutions that you haven't touched on yet? Any other
Well,
ideas?
the Tents for Rents thing, let's go back to that for a minute
Okay.
and talk a little bit more about what we can do there. That, again, if we get the business community involved, can be a good thing, not only the job training, but when it comes to housing. I don't know why the city of Las Cruces is so opposed to working with us, with the citizens
With the
and with the
business.
businesses both.
Okay.
I don't understand that. Sorry about that. I got distracted for a second.
That's okay.
I don't understand where that mentality comes from. That we have to do it alone. It has to be done through taxpayer dollars, and not have that situation to where the business community and the people have a stake and have a say in it. When you have everybody working together on one page, when we all have a stake in it together, then we all own it. We're all part of it. We're all part of the problem. We're all part of the solution. Right now, I think that half of Las Cruces feels left out. We have been removed from that equation of being part of the solution. We don't know what's going on with the city, and the city does everything. And I don't want to say behind closed doors because that sounds like they're doing something necessarily wrong, and they're not. It's just that they're not reaching across that aisle, so to speak. And I'm not talking Republican, Democrat aisle.
Sure.
I'm just talking about the different mindset of people. Sure. They're not reaching across that aisle and say, hey, let's work together here.
Well, like you mentioned, I think on the last show, that if you only have city council meetings scheduled during the daytime when
Right.
a lot of people are working, certainly the business community,
Right.
how can they get to the meetings?
How can
so,
they- right.
So you don't have community involvement because people can't do it if they're working.
Right.
Maybe the homeless can show up for the city council
Yep.
meetings. I don't know.
And they do token meetings. They do some nighttime meetings where they'll do them
Oh.
in different districts and move it around. But that's not good enough. We need to have those meetings. There should be some meetings during the daytime because there's a lot of retirees that's better for them to go to and that sort of stuff. But there should also be an equal amount of city council meetings in the evening.
Sure.
We'll split those up.
Sure, that makes sense. Well, so Tent City, there's opportunities out there. Is there anything else you can think of that could help us through this homeless problem that we do have?
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot of people in this community with a lot of knowledge. And one man, and I won't mention his name because I don't have his permission to do that, but one man in general that I've been speaking with a lot on this used to be homeless. He was homeless years ago, so he understands the problem better than a lot of the rest of us.
Sure, makes sense.
It's like you talk to a kid who comes out of a foster care situation. They understand that situation better
Sure.
than somebody who doesn't. I know.
Sure. Oh, counselors.
but-
Okay. Counselors would be great that have gone through drugs
Right.
and have come through and cleaned themselves up.
Right,
So,
but
yeah.
let's work with people like him, people who have been in that system, and look at what actually works. What got him out of that system, for one, and him and I have had discussions on that.
Okay.
You know, what got him, what kind of help worked to get him out of the system? Was it a handout or a hand up? You know, there's some differences in there in how those programs work, and so if we can bring people like him into the conversation,
Sure.
then we get somewhere, and not have the attitude, well, we are city council or we are city government, as they like to think on city council, and we know better. We don't need to reach out to these others. Let's work together as a team.
Sure. You got to
And
hear everybody.
I'm going to point out again, because I like to do this in everything I do, is to remind people that our city council is not our government. City council is representative of the people to the government. They're supposed to keep the government in line. They're supposed to work for the people.
Well,
And I think that's important to get across.
we need a voter turnout is what we need. People
Yep.
need to be educated. They need to get involved. They need to go to city council meetings, county commissioners
Right.
meetings. They really need to know what's going on. And you're not going to find that in some of the newspapers that we have around town because it leans to one side. You don't get the full story. But people need to get engaged, need to be educated, and then speak up. And
Yes,
So, and vote.
right.
Now, we have new voting coming up, ranked choice voting, that scares a lot of people, but it's really not that hard. And
different.
we're going to have shows explaining ranked choice voting.
Okay.
So it looks like there's solutions, and we're down to about a minute. So would you
Okay.
like to sum up or tell us what we're going to talk about next week?
Actually, next week, I think we're going to continue on some of the subjects we've been talking about today on the how to deal with mental illness and that sort of thing.
Drugs, crime.
Yeah, some of the crime that's going on in Las Cruces, so
Sure.
we'll touch on that.
Okay.
And I have some background knowledge in that because of the type of business I'm in. I see that crime firsthand.
Right, you're in security
Yeah,
business.
A lot of people don't see it
Yes. And it-
on the forefront.
And you've been in this business for how many years?
Well, actually, I've been in the trade since '89. I don't know how many, 35 years.
So you know what you're
30.
talking about.
Yeah. I've been doing this trade for a long time, both locksmithing and the alarm business.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about on that.
Well, it sounds great. I look forward to the next show. Any other comments you want to make before we close up?
Not that I can think of, other than to tell people, if you've got a question for me, please let me know. Send it in. I will answer your question. I know Dave mentioned we can answer it here on the air, but I'll also answer it privately. If you have a question that you don't want on the air, send me an email and I'll get back directly with you, and we'll have that conversation. We won't bring it up on the air.
I
So I'm
believe-
good either way.
I believe it's on the screen, your contact information, but could you say it again?
Sure, it's philipvanveen@gmail.com. That's one L in Philip, and then it's VANVEEN@gmail.com. You can also call me at 575-323-1477. I almost forgot my number.
That's okay. That's okay. You got a lot of numbers in your head, I'm sure,
I
running a
do,
business with a lot of employees. So it's been a pleasure, Philip. Thank you
Thank you.
again. See you next week.
All right. I'm Philip VanVeen. I'm running for City Council District 2, and I approve this message. Diana Rodriguez, Treasurer.